Hi folks, this is All the Fruit, and this here is yet another video without fruit tasting. So if you are just here to find out how some new and exciting fruit tastes like, I have to disappoint you. This is another video about the water issues of the Canary Islands. Well, I'm here in the Tenerife Mountains, once again in those big canyon or gorge systems on the south of the Tenerife Mountains, in the area of the cliffs of Los Gigantes. And yeah, those basically most of those valleys have never been accessed by roads. But of course, on the Canary Islands every piece of land was used, so there were single farms here. Here you can see a couple agaves, an old fig tree. In the upper parts you can sometimes see a couple cacti or almond trees, maybe even some date palms. But yeah, those farms were abandoned in the 20th century. The people were forced to work there for hundreds of years, but then they were abandoned. But still, the land had one very important resource: water. Even those desert-like areas, which now are very green, but that's the greenest they have been in the last 5 years because of the heavy winter rains. And it's mid-March and they're already drying out. Even those desert-like areas had enough water for a gigantic undertaking. Don't forget that the Canary Islands were among the most important, have been and still are, among the most important providers for winter fruit and veg for all of Europe. They started in the 19th century with providing fruit and veg in winter for England, for Britain, and then continued. And so people accessed those valleys. How did they access them? Well, in the beginning there were the donkey trails, the so-called Caminos Reales, or King's Roads, which were basically donkey trails over the mountains. Later they built those tunnels. They are, some of them are miles long. The longest one is almost 2 miles. They are big enough for a person to walk there, and they are used to transport the water from one valley to the other and to the big south of Tenerife, where the giant slopes are being used for banana production and the tourist resorts are along the coast. And of course water is very important there. And nowadays you can see all those big bags here. Those big bags didn't travel here on donkey trail, and nobody carried them through the tunnels, which are too small for them. No, they were brought here by helicopter. So nowadays those valleys are being mostly accessed by helicopter. Actually I saw one earlier. And here I just wanted to show you part of the scale on which this mining for water was undertaken. There are about 5,000 such gallerias on the island of Tenerife alone. So this is only one of about 5,000 examples. Look at that. Buildings back there. Then underneath that, the mine where the water was mined is actually closed off with a fence. You can see it here. I didn't went there because if you close off with a fence something which is so remote that you need basically over half a day to reach it, it's probably dangerous enough. And then there was a whole little railroad system. Here, more buildings. Lots of buildings. On the other side, more buildings. A whole railroad system for those little carts here, which were transporting not the water, but the rocks out of those mines. Some of those mines are up to 5 kilometers long. Most are about 1 kilometer long. Some are going up to 5 kilometers into the mountains to extract the water. Here is the railroad which went in there with the little wagons. Here some sort of turntable for the railroad, some sort of crossroads. 3 of the directions are still there. A ventilation pipe. Those were used while digging the mines. Later they are removed. Those are not the water pipes, but the ventilation pipes. I don't know what those metal pipes were used for. Probably for getting water from some more remote spring or more remote small mine up there, which was then channeled into the main mine. Here you can see kind of part of the scope of this undertaking. One pretty big pile of rails for the railroad. Here some more. Another pretty big pile of rails for the railroad. Here a third big pile of rails for the railroad, and there are probably still miles of those inside the closed off mine. Well, in this valley I've seen a second water mining complex of the same size, maybe 2 kilometers down there. In the valley next to it there is another one of this site and several smaller ones. The water from this mine is not very rich in limestone, but somewhere here, some of those mines, they are producing water which is extremely rich in limestone. Here we have deposits which are almost 2 meters thick, and then the visible white deposits go down the valley for at least a kilometer or over half a mile. And also wherever this canal over there leaks, the whole mountainside is painted white. Well, they needed a lot of machines, of course, for powering the railroad, for pumping the fresh air into the mine. Here you see the air pipe. Again, this is not a water pipe, this is an air pipe which goes over there into the mine. The more recent machines seem to be Spanish ones, built in Bilbao in northern Spain. When we look at the older machines there, oh, by the way, I think those little alcoves in the rocks have been built to put the dynamite in there, like far away enough from the bigger buildings. Yeah, the older machines are usually British made. Here, Lister from Dursley in England. Well, that's quite natural because, England treated the Canary Islands just like Sicily and the Balearic Islands and a lot of other islands that belong to other European powers, basically at its own colonies. Britain would provide all the machines and vehicles for this water mining and for large-scale agriculture, and Britain would buy pretty much all of them. Well, 100 years ago it was mostly tomatoes, later bananas. So basically they would treat the Canary Islands like their little financial colony. The Canary Islands were the last remnant, one of the last remnants of Spain's colonial empire, but Britain basically Britain ruled here for a lot of times, at least in terms of finances. Yeah, as I said, this is just one of about 5,000 such water mining operations on the island of Tenerife. It's incredible how those people built those mines in those remote valleys where you need half a day just to come here from the next road. It looks basically like Mexico or New Mexico or some other incredibly remote area of the world. Well, just about 6 or 7 kilometers away from here are giant tourist complexes and giant banana plantations, but here we are in the middle of nowhere except for all those canals and mining operations. I hope you forgive me that I made another video without fruit tasting and just about the water problems of the Canary Islands, but the Canary Islands are one of the best places for fruit hunting in the world, and a lot of those fruits are really dependent on all this water. Well, a lot of the water is being, in my opinion, wasted on the bananas, which are not that valuable, but the most important crop here. But basically, I think that the water problems of the Canary Islands are important enough to be discussed on a fruit channel. And I think those water installations here are impressive enough for a video. Yeah, tell me, what do you think? Was it worth to access those remote and inaccessible areas for water mining? Yeah, was it worth to extract water which is in some cases millions of years old from the grounds, to destroy the water reserves of whole islands in order to provide cheap fruit and veg for all of Europe? Tell me what you think about Canary Island water mining and fruit production. Stay tuned for a lot more fruit videos, hopefully with fruit tasting from the beautiful island of Tenerife. And don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe.